Butler, Pennsylvania? Because I'm just curious, because last time we had you on the show, it was June. Butler was July, right? So did you see any, like, what were you thinking the second you heard about who that would-be assassin was and like their online presence, whatever there was? Did you have any
The first thing I
thoughts?
said was, all I need is his Telegram handle. I just need his Telegram handle.
And
I can use that to find out all the places he's in. I'm sure that he had one.
yeah,
And I think that it's come out since that he did. It had some encrypted apps. Overseas encrypted app, by the way, that's Telegram.
yeah,
It's an encrypted app that's housed overseas, and it's very hard. It was historically very hard to get information from Telegram, which they've started complying now a little bit suspiciously since their owner was arrested in France.
that's right.
I don't agree with backdoors and stuff like that, but I do agree that they should be more forthcoming with child abuse situations and in cases that involve like imminent terrorist planning,
Right,
because stuff does happen on Telegram very frequently.
right.
So that's the first thing I thought about him, was that he's got to be on Telegram somewhere and that there has to be somebody in his ear. I mean, look at this kid.
Hmm.
It's had the same thought that I had with Bobby Cremo. Who's talking to him online?
Right.
That's the first thing that came through my mind.
Yeah, they looked not similar, but just sickly. And
They all look the
little.
same, don't they?
They do look the same. Like I would have assumed lots of drugs for Cremo, although you say it's not that case, just weed. But they both looked sickly, like weak little men.
Yeah, they're vulnerable. A lot of them are kind of borderline autistic, antisocial, or have
Yeah.
other kind of mental peculiarities that lend themselves well to online radicalization. And these people who are trying to find people just like that, they're targeting people with those characteristics because they know that they're easier to control. And so that's one of the basic tenets of online radicalization and grooming to commit violence. So yeah, obviously I was, and then I bizarrely stumbled upon in the same week or two, right? I stumbled upon, we were watching this group of Niners or Order of Nine Angles guys. We'd kind of infiltrated their chats at this point, and we were just trying to figure out, they were trying to infiltrate like the 2A Liberty militia spaces online. So we were following them around and warning people about them, and they took credit for that assassination attempt,
Really?
which was strange, but I don't honestly think that they did it. But yeah,
Right.
I still wonder to this day, I'm like, what if they weren't lying? What if they actually did?
Right. I mean,
Because they want to tear the system apart. They
Right.
don't like Trump because these particular Order of Nine Angles people are pro-Ukrainian extremists as well. And they don't like Trump because they were afraid that he would take away funding from Ukraine. And that was their motive. And they had discussed assassinating Trump several times before the assassination attempt. Just 2 weeks prior, they were talking about
Wow.
taking him out in their group chat.
Are you-
I
are-
still don't know what happened about that. I
Are
filled
you-
out a cyber tip, but
Are you saying
knows?
they took credit for Butler or the Florida
Yeah.
one? Okay. Because
Yeah.
in Florida, it was like a pro-Ukraine crazy person.
they took credit for him too.
Of course. Of course.
They're kind of
serial
LARPers,
killers.
though.
Yeah.
They will just say extravagant things to get people in their groups to think that they're spooky.
Yeah. So-
But they're not. But there's always that. So for me, I'm like, there's no way. No, but what if?
I think anything's possible. After Butler, I was thinking a lot about what you've told me about accelerationism, just in terms of how the media and the public viewed it, because anything you wanted to be true about Thomas Crooks was true. He was Republican, he was Democrat. He hated Trump, he loved Trump. He donated to these people, not to these people. And anything, it was like, well, that just seems like an accelerationist who doesn't care.
Counterproductive.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it is. It plays directly into the accelerationist desire to create politically divisive, content and stuff. And so, yes, that's why they choose AR-15s. That's why they have them write these manifestos where they blame this person and that person, Candace Owens and Destiny, and who knows? They're all over the place because they're trying to get people to pick up on it in the media and report on it. And that's exactly what we do every single time. We haven't learned that there's more to it, and that these people aren't well, they're not healthy. There have been some example of shooters who were a little bit more politically driven, and it did seem a little bit more like a genuinely held belief. But I feel like that's an outlier these days.
Yeah. In your mind, is accelerationism closely related to anarchy, like an old school anarchist?
It's like In a way, I guess. But the thing is that most accelerationists have an end state that is not anarchy. It's like fascism.
Okay.
Like they want like a fascist regime to take over.
Right.
Like they're National Socialists, Nazis, or they're eco-fascists, or they're Satanists who think that the false prophet is actually Trump and that he's setting the stage for the coming of the Antichrist, who's going to like invoke 1,000 years of apocalypse on humanity. Or whatever.
Okay, so yeah, accelerationism is kind of like I would say, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Accelerationism kind of hijacks anarchy, but to drive anarchy towards this goal of fascism after they do whatever they have to do to tear down.
It's more of a revolution.
Right.
It's not less anarchy and more of a revolutionary tactic.
Right. That's
right. They see themselves as revolutionaries,
right.
But they want to tear the system down in order to build something better, not in order to not have a system.
And we should note that there are people out there who consider themselves good accelerationists, not just like the bad ones that we know are bad, but there's people out there who are like, what do they call them? Effective accelerationists.
Yeah. So now that's something a little bit different that we're not really talking about here. So the accelerationism that came from James Mason and his meanderings with Charles Manson, right? That kind of acceleration is more specifically called militant accelerationism. So it's a violent ideology that wants to collapse the system using infrastructure attack, terror attacks. That's what it is. Whereas effective accelerationism is something that's a little bit more philosophical, you know?
Yeah, I don't like either.
That's not what we're talking about. Every time that I do one of these, if I don't clarify that, I get a bunch of people in my DMs who are angry at me.
Yeah, well, last time I don't think we talked about it, and I got messages from people being like, you know, which one is it? And I personally don't agree with either. I don't either, but also I don't see the effective accelerationists out there plotting mass shootings and attacking power substations. Very different. They have a much more
different.
I think you put it right with philosophical way of looking at how to bring about another change in society that I also don't agree with. But before I let you go, what do you? Okay, we're talking about transparency, and you mentioned 2 shooters in the very beginning that made me think of JFK. What do you think? Are we getting JFK papers? Do you believe these papers, these files, Epstein stuff coming from the government? What's your take?
I feel like I could have told everybody, and I did tell everybody years ago, that we would never see those Epstein files. And if we did, that it would be some kind of limited hangout that you couldn't trust. So I wasn't as shocked as everyone else when they handed Walmart binders to a bunch of like big influencers and took a photo op. That to me was like, of course they did. So no, I don't think we'll ever see that.
Yeah.
I don't think that if you did, because like, you know, this is what I love about you, Shane, is that you're on that same level of like, this is like the post-truth world, right? So if they did release it, would you even believe it? How do we know it's not fabricated, right?
Why would we believe the papers that
why would we believe
all these other administrations had their hands on? Everyone's talking, we don't trust the deep state. These guys just got in. Why would we believe that they're getting the right stuff? It doesn't make any sense to me. The whole thing seemed like a PR stunt.
I'm just not a fan of the government in general. So
well, I think that's a fair assessment.
Welcome to Inverted World Live.
Yeah. Awesome. So, all right. Can you please tell everyone where they can find you, all your stuff, including your art, which is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm BX_on_X. I do most of my content there. Lately, I've also been writing a book, which I've also been putting on my Substack, which is a great way to support me. My Substack, I've been releasing all of these exclusive articles in a more long form. So if you're a reader, and you should be, definitely check out my Substack. I've been putting out exclusive research on this kind of thing that nobody else has put out. So Substack is BX Writes, like rights, BX Writes. And I guess if you like my art and want to support me by buying art, you can also do that on my my social link. I guess it's in your description.
It's a nice break from all the satanic death cults.
It is. Yeah. It's like you have to create something nice and beautiful in order to continue to put yourself in these situations where you're researching these like evil, destructive forces, right?
Yeah, totally agreed.
Balance.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm grateful for all the stuff you do. It's very impressive. I hope everyone follows you if you're not already and checks out all your work. And we'll have you back at some point. All right.
Yes, anytime. I'd love to come back. I've got a million topics we could talk about.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do it soon. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Shane.